And we're live with the very fifth episode. I almost said very first episode of Auditory Osmosis.
Osis. What's up, Mr. Hawkins? How are you this evening?
I don't know. I'm nervous. It's the first episode.
I believe this is not the first episode, but
It's the fifth, man. It's the F. The F caught my tongue.
Right. So I'm not going to lie. Before this, we were talking about some really deep, crazy shit that we probably shouldn't be talking about, so we're not going to talk about it, right?
Correcto.
All right. So it's going to be a
Rituals at the longest tunnel in Swiss
gonna-
Alps. That's all I'm going to say.
I think we're going to try to just go, relaxation on this one. It's the end of the week. It's definitely Sunday night.
Just lend us your ears.
Please. Just
And let us float down the river with auditory osmosis. Something like that, something relaxing.
Hey, that's pretty good. We should probably talk like the public radio people this evening.
And that was a piece from Mozart.
So
Classical piece. How are you feeling this fine evening, Mr. Ritter? How were your calls on the UFC fights?
Oh, these fights. I can't talk like that about fights. Are you kidding
No,
me?
you need a little bit more of a masculine tone. You'd be like,
All right.
these fights. No, that sounds. Maybe that's Alex Jones' secret masculine overtones.
Masculinity,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm just here and I'm ready. All right, go.
So, hang on 1 second. That's a
Got the clap.
Copenhagen long cut. It's guaranteed fresh. I'm gonna take a nice, good little dip to get me ready for this talk.
Chlamydia.
It'll be a little plakia starting us. We'll start there.
So how many fights did you call? I mean, last
All right.
time you added.
All right, so I think I put it out there the other night, but I think most of us were. Well, of course, I kind of had Uriah Faber. He was my boy in this fight, and Dominic Cruz, who he fought, he is the champion. He's so hard to hit. Okay, so he's so orthodox, and when I say orthodox, I don't mean
He's not predictable.
he's very unpredictable, and he's got these.
So how is he orthodox? Wouldn't that be unorthodox?
Well, okay. So he's not left-handed, so he's not southpaw, but he fights orthodox, but his style is orthodox. So he even when tonight or last night when Uriah was backing away or going forward, Uriah was working for it the whole time. So he basically took control of Uriah's cardio, and I mean, Uriah, he should have thrown some leg kicks. He should have slowed him down, slowed down Cruz. Anyway, Uriah lost. Okay, decision. Bisping just knocked the fuck out of Rockhold, and it was almost. So the first left hand that got him, it hit him, and Rockhold was backing up, and he kind of got tripped, and so he stumbled, and then
He kind of got tripped on what? His own footing?
no, by Bisping.
Oh, okay.
So he fell backwards again, and then Bisping, just because he fell against the cage, and just Bisping just fucking got him good, man. It was a crazy fight.
And the ref, he didn't have to get between them. He just let him.
He definitely did. Rockhold was on the cage, just didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Any illegal shots in the battle? No.
It was definitely clean.
Precise strikes.
Bisping is in the best shape of his life, and I was definitely against him. So many people were against him. I think 18% of the people that called or that bet in the I don't know how big the field is for this particular.
Well, hey, who are the current champions, in the different weight divisions?
So the new middleweight champion went to Bisping tonight. heavyweight champion. Shoot, you got me good.
These are just first round questions.
He just got. Yeah, these are terrible questions for right now. Well, you were asking me earlier just to kind of like call the fights first, all right? So I'm gonna call.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what happened. Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I call
the diamond in the rough.
He's a bad mother. Shut your mouth. No, I felt like he was gonna win. He definitely won by knockout. Hendo, which is Dan Henderson, dude, he threw this hell of an elbow, and then 2 more elbows after. It just knocked out the one of the dudes that just comes at you. I mean, I said he was gonna get tired, but that's just kind of what happens with that guy. But he literally got these elbows thrown at him, and just it was a great fight.
So how many hundos do you think Hendo made?
Oh, Hendo or Hundo? No, it was Hendo, which is it's kind of his nickname. So,
one thing about the UFC, I've always been curious, and maybe you're a person who can answer this question for me.
I've thought about.
But where do they pick fighters? Like, how do they select fighters to participate in the UFC?
Well, there's people that actually set the fights up, and it's sometimes.
Do they have scouts? Do they go to local arenas?
There's people. You mean, how do they get new fighters, or how do they just? I don't understand the question.
Well, 1 second. I'm getting a phone call.
Should probably get rid of that phone. Just throw it against your wall or something. We don't need that shit right now.
But yeah, I mean, how do they pick fighters?
Well, there's a lot of times it goes with, the records, or who's hot, or who just lost, or who's fighting. You know what I mean? But it's definitely it's called by a couple of people. A lot of the times Dana White likes it if people call other people out after they knock some dude to the ground.
And seems like the UFC, they're really interested in reaching out across the different areas of sports. Like Brock Lesnar is coming back to the UFC.
He's coming. He's fighting UFC 200, which is huge already. But the fight card is huge already. But Brock.
Well, the WWE, that seems like an obvious choice. But do they ever go into like football or any non-combative sport and get athletes to jump over into the UFC?
Absolutely. Do you know Herschel Walker?
I don't. Explain.
Oh, well, you're not really into football, and coming from Minnesota and me kind of growing up in Texas, it comes to the conclusion that, well, Herschel Walker was kind of this fucked up thing that fucked the Vikings over, right?
All right.
So, but anyway, so that's kind of like one of the beefs between Dallas and Minnesota, or Minneapolis, St. Paul, whatever, Twin Cities. Okay. But Herschel Walker's been an MMA fighter for who knows? I don't know. He's still fighting right now. Herschel Walker. He's a bad motherfucker. He's actually awesome. You see a couple of his fights. He's a good fighter. But yeah, so that definitely shows that it's a great way of cross-training. I guess cross-training might be a bad word because of cross-training probably the TM, or restricted, the copyrighted name. But
no, I mean, it's a good practice. They reach out to other areas.
Well, yeah, definitely. It's
and at the same time,
training your whole body.
Well, at the same time, I feel as if when they reach into different sports and pluck an athlete, they're also gaining some fans, right? And some exposure.
Absolutely.
So people who would never watch the UFC, they hear about
Brock has been the biggest hype ever since he started. He's like one of the biggest hype people that has ever came to the UFC. So it's definitely a big. It's going to be very big that he's coming back for UFC 200.
And you know, people who don't watch the UFC, they're trying to get boxing now.
Well, dude,
to kind of mingle with the UFC. They seem so similar.
Boxing's great. Boxing was what many people have been in for decades. Boxing. I was in boxing in the 90s, early 90s, before I even knew of MMA. Then I found K1 and some of the Japanese Pride and stuff like that. So, but it definitely took me getting into boxing young to get into MMA because it's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, again, my dad used to give my mom like the weekend out. He would rent the DVDs, or I'm sorry, it was a VHS at that point again, and we would watch the VHSs of UFC 1 or UFC 5 or, you know, the beginnings of the UFC. It was just so brutal that you had to hide it from everybody. But what they didn't know is, you know, when Hoist Gracie ruined everybody
Well, not to cut you off, but you know what that phone call was all about? Whoever was trying to reach me, I guess, and I'm not going to name names, but I guess a friend of a friend is sitting in jail right now after being pulled over and searched.
Oh, no.
So, whoever it was, and I don't pay attention to my phone. In fact, I usually put it on airplane mode, but before we went live, I was busy ranting about some other topic to Mr. Ritter. And so, yeah, I saw my peripheral vision, the phone kept lighting up, and I thought, well, if this is an emergency, I better check. And
yeah,
I guess it's not an emergency, but that I'm sorry to interrupt you and kind of be half-minded while we're on air.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, you know.
Well, we're to keep on chugging. For all I know, it could just be a prank,
chugging?
but it seemed
What are you drinking?
very frantic. Well, metaphorically, Mr. Ritter, metaphorically like a train on a track.
Just keep a chugging.
Chug-a-lug-a-luggin'.
Chug-a-chug. Chug-a-chug.
Or it's a lot like that, I think Roger Miller wrote a song called Chug-a-lug, Chug-a-lug, which was about drinking alcohol. But I'm talking about trains.
Yeah, keeping on cruising like the little engine that could.
Exactly. Up that hill, here we go.
All right. We could do a lot of things right now, but what we're going to...
But you know, the more you talk about UFC, I kind of want to get into it. I've
tried getting you into it, but...
My problem with the UFC...
You like the video game.
Well, I like racing Forza cars and Forza Motorsports.
I guarantee you.
I don't like watching motorsports.
I guarantee you if you had a nice car and you were able to just race it around a track, not even race, but just drive it around a track, you'd love that too.
Well, and that's just it. I think if I had some martial arts background or experience, I would really get to pay attention to the technique of some of these talented fighters, right?
I just think you have to try to pay attention to it rather than just not. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the open-mindedness. You just got to see it a little more. Your mind isn't really wired for mixed martial arts.
No, it's definitely not.
No, it's not. I mean, unless we're going to Buffalo Wild Wings, because we love Buffalo Wild Wings and all different
they have
wings.
Cute servers, beer.
How many beers do they have?
And everywhere I look, I'm surrounded by screens.
Thank you, Buffalo Wild Wings. Could you help me see these fights when I don't want to pay for them at home?
But at the same time, I'd rather watch a fight at my own house because I really don't like to deal with crowd reaction.
Yeah.
I feel like, for instance, when you're at a football game and you have two opposing cheerleaders, and I'm not talking about women, I'm talking about the boys who like to play dress up with their jerseys
Hey,
and get
come on.
together.
I love sports. What are you talking about right now?
And the crowd reaction, when you have to deal with a whole stadium or a whole bar full of those people, I don't know if I'm into that.
Dude, I'm not going to lie to you. So I brought Chef to, well, I got the tickets from my uncle to go to the Minnesota Wild versus the Dallas Stars third playoff game this last, it was probably a month ago, okay? And I brought Chef there. I wore Dallas Star stuff, and I almost got beat up by everybody around me. The whole, like, the first period. Like, the beginning, I was very rude, and, like...
I mean, do they really get into it? Because I haven't been to enough sporting events where I've been threatened or feel threatened.
Playoff hockey? Are you kidding me? These people are crazy, but it's amazing. It's great to get into this, like, again, I'm gonna say it, shared psychosis. But they made me like they made me just get rid of all my ties to the Dallas Stars. By the third period, I was cheering for Minnesota Wild. Like,
in a way, the crowd bathes you, and it's kind of like a baptism for you.
Well,
you had to cleanse yourself.
Well, the thing is I wore a Minnesota North Stars jersey, which is kind of like the difference between, it's the median between Minnesota and Dallas. So you can wear that and kind of you can cheer for both teams if you want. Well, I was clearly cheering for the Dallas Stars at the beginning, but the Minnesota Wild just kicked ass the whole game, and I just couldn't help but just love them. We're talking sports tonight. What's up with that? You don't even do sports.
I'm just trying to, it's part of my field research.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand the specimen, the human organism, and I want to probe into every category of interest to fully understand the psyche and the process behind the collective. You know, what is it? What is fandom? Why do people like brand allegiance too? Just a loyalty to a brand, I suppose. People like Chevy, people like Ford.
People like to compete no matter what it is, regardless if it's betting or, you know, some stupid just for statistics on their team. But people like to back their number one. You know what I mean? They like to have something to cheer for. They like to have something to get rid of that, like, monotony throughout the regular work week. You know what I mean? And they'd love to be able to sit down on Sunday, like this morning when I was doing a burger buffet and cooking 160 pieces of chicken and making
160 pieces.
Yeah, that's for tomorrow. Ronald McDonald charity. I'm actually supporting all the higher ups in the Ronald McDonald charity.
Do you think we can get some of those higher ups to dress up like the clowns they are and be present?
They probably
at the charity.
Will. It'll be some weird, you know, ritual, satanic or otherwise.
A satanic ritual live at the White Bear Yacht Club.
Well, they like to have fun, and we cater to that fun. They're dropping.
I would say there's a sacrifice every day just by you showing up.
They're gonna. I really want this to go wrong. I'm not gonna lie to you, but so they're gonna have a helicopter on the driving range. Okay. It's going to take off and drop 140 golf balls. Right? It all has people's names on it, right? The closest 10 to the hole that they're going for wins something out of their little drawing.
So they're going to literally fly a helicopter and drop golf balls all over an open field for a raffle.
This is what the higher ups do for.
So this is
a McDonald charity,
a hedonistic happening for them. They just like, well, how does that who came up with that idea? Who was sitting down at the board meeting and they said, "Hey, Yeah, why don't we just get a helicopter and drop a bunch of golf balls with people's names on it? That would be cool, right?
Ships.
No, fuck drying the paper. No, that's so old hat. Let's just drop golf balls from a helicopter.
You know, might as well.
I mean,
I don't know.
that's absurd.
I'm not going to say any names or any of the people that we're communicating with at work, but you know, this is kind of like this is a higher up, like kind of elite kind of thing. It's if you were involved in this, it'd be pretty cool, right? But guess what?
Are they the poor rich, the bumpkin class with a few dollars in the bank?
No, these are the people that. So you know, all the Ronald McDonald House charities, blah 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 blah. These are the people that run it.
And assuming it's a branch or a subsidy of the actual corporate structure of McDonald's, or is it an independent firm?
I couldn't be. I want to say it's either. I don't know.
Are taxes involved?
Oh, absolutely, or lack thereof. Right.
Exactly.
Because you can't. I think it was passed not too long ago, within the past 4 years, that you can't just have these tax write-offs anymore unless it's something real or like something that's not, you know, these people are they're having the time of their life on a golf course, and they're having all these people just do all this stuff. Dude, it's an all-day event on a Monday at the yacht club. Put it that way.
And every day the lake is lower and lower.
Yeah, well.
But maybe I'm being too hard. Here's a headline coming out of Washington Post.
Yes.
Free money? No thanks, Swiss voters. So, for the first time, and I think we're going to cover in Chile, they're giving free energy in like a controlled experiment. You're going to get free, like imagine your power company saying, "Hey, buddy, this is now a collectivist operation. We're going to give you free energy and encourage you to use solar panels." But anyways, this Washington Post article is, poltergeist activity here at the Auditory Osmosis report. Something just hit me.
Or what happened right there?
I'm telling you, poltergeist activity.
It just fell over, I know.
But I'm going to ignore it because you can't pay attention to the demons. On offer in a Swiss referendum this Sunday, a guaranteed monthly income for every adult paid for by the government. They're offering 2,500 American dollars for each adult Swiss citizen in foreigners who have legally resided in the country for 5 years, as well as an additional $640 for each child of theirs. So this was defeated, but the fact that this was even a discussion, and this stemmed out of the automation of the economy discussion, the fact that all the service, the laborers or the laborers that have jobs in the service sector, or what's left of the manufacturing, they're going to be replaced by automatons. And the government wants to combat that by giving them a socialized stimulus package every month. Well, this was defeated by about 70%. And the old argument always is, if you give people money for free, it turns into a Marxist dystopian novel.
Right.
And nobody wants to work, and the guy who's working his ass off loses his motivation because the guy who isn't working still gets $2,500 in the bank from the government. So they defeated this.
We've had talks about the Swiss.
Well, and mind you, the Swiss, they're not a part of the European Union, and they're always neutral. I think Hitler had a hideout in the Swiss Alps.
Absolutely, dude.
And I'm telling the viewers now, in a later date, maybe in an Ether Hawkins report, we
have to get away from this. We can't talk about the Swiss. They're neutral, and they don't take either side, so we're not going to take a side right now.
Well, I'm going to say, look up.
Don't do it.
look up the longest tunnel in the opening ceremony, and I'm going to leave it at that. Maybe in a later report, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole. But right now, let's focus on this idea that you get free money from the state. What would you vote for something like this? Like, what are your opinions on an initiative such as what the Swiss wanted to accomplish?
So last time I went home to my parents and to my family in Texas, we were riding in the car, and my dad turned on the radio, and we started kind of talking. Right, they had just picked me up. And he kind of asked me, what side do you take on the government? What do you think the government should do for you? What do you think? Should they work for you or should you work for them? And
if you answered wrong, he was going to stop the car and kick you out?
Maybe. I don't know. But basically, I told him exactly what I thought. I feel like the government should absolutely work for us. This is how it should be, and this is how it is in our Constitution. But they should not be able to intervene in people's everyday life and all this other bullshit that comes along with it, and he kind of said, really? I felt like you would have been one of the people that would want to get everything for free from them. Basically, he had read me wrong. He didn't my family, my parents never really knew me because I was always kind of reclusive, or I was trying to never be there, but that was just because I was being me. Anyway, so
He's so isolated and distant. We just can't understand our son.
I think, again, the government should be working for us. None of this, I'll just say, again, they should be working for us, and they should not be able to intervene, and you should not be able to freeload because if you freeload off the government, then they start to take control.
Right, and you're essentially helping the process of enslaving everyone while you enslave yourself.
And it takes a lot of thought process to get to where you just went to. But yes, I mean, I guess you're working for them at that point. You don't want to work for the government and the company you have to work for every day. You're paying all this fucking money to work and live every day already, against all the fact that you have to pay for all these other bullshit taxes.
And you're already being taxed.
Yes.
Up the yin and the yang.
I mean, it's on both sides. You're absolutely right.
Getting double teamed by that shit.
Oh God, that hurts, man.
Well, it seems like the socialist and collectivistic experiments are running wild lately. Reading this, and this one makes sense. Well, a suburban experiment aims for free energy. Yeah, coming out of the New York Times here.
This free energy has wanted to be given away for a long time, but guess what? With all this free energy and this free Wi-Fi that people want to start giving you, guess what's going to happen with it? Google, I think it was Google. I want to say it was Google. They want to fly these
balloons
or UAVs through in our atmosphere, or however many miles up or 1,000 feet up, whatever, and it supplies Wi-Fi to everybody within that range. But it puts out so many balloons or UAVs that everybody gets Wi-Fi in America. What does that do?
Well, it connects everybody to the Google.
Didn't you watch Terminator?
It's Skynet, but at a less aggressive, in a less aggressive situation.
How is it any less aggressive though? What do we not see?
At least the Google is not a living, breathing, time traveling robot yet.
You don't know that.
I don't know that.
This isn't the movie Terminator yet, Mr. Hawkins.
Keyword yet.
Yep, and I said that.
But no, I think if we are going to initiate these amendments to our Department of Energy should provide us good, clean energy for free just by being a resident and a taxpayer. Like if we're gonna build roads together,
I mean,
let's heat and cool our homes together.
I feel like the fact that Obama is like charging everybody else for this money that they can't pay already, I feel like everybody should get fucking free, clean energy right now in America.
Right. Well, like I said, on one side, I think free money. See, if you give people money for free, you don't really dictate what they can buy, right? So a guy who gets a free check from the government might go buy the latest iPhone, or he might go pick up a 4K HD TV for the football season, right? Who wouldn't?
Football TV, we're gonna watch every game for the fucking Minnesota Vikings. It's gonna be great. We're gonna see every yard, every throw, every touchdown. Everybody's gonna see it on my 4K TV.
Crisp and clean 4K. But the point is don't give them money. Give them free energy, because at least they can't take the free energy and become lazy bums.
But they can live off of it too, though.
But they can live off of it and then increase their potential, or what people in the electrical field call human potential, because they call electrical potential. And any type of energy has potential, right? You just have to use it.
Correct.
So I think we should stay away from the collectivist amendments that want to give us money and face the energy problem. And we should push for free energy through the state.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I draw the line too. Like the whole free money, not going to work. There's no incentive to work if everybody just has free money.
Correct.
All right, moving on. Facebook again, denying that they spy on various things. I think I sent you that article.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think if Facebook, somebody once said, you can get away with anything as long as you're innocent, meaning as long as it doesn't come to light, you can get away with it.
Or as long as they can prove it.
Do you think Facebook takes that approach to their, or a lot of these tech companies, their eavesdropping and their infiltration of personal private metadata and phone data?
I think they, I don't know if they actually spy on people's private messages and their voicemail or voice contacts of any way. But, you know.
Well, and they wanted this for better.
They're definitely trying to get information.
They wanted better, to target with their advertising. They wanted to understand you at a personal level. So the theory or the accusation was they're listening because they have phone apps, right? You can like Skype, call people through your Facebook, right?
Right.
Well, the argument was they're getting into your phone and they're also listening to whatever you're doing, because technically you're using their system because it's a feudalized system, right? You're a serf in the Facebook world.
Mm-hmm.
And the king who owns the land can do what he wilt with it. So I think personally Facebook probably does do it, but they're not going to actually say we do it, because it's a PR thing. And I'm sure down the road, just like everything else that we first hear is like speculation, one day they're just going to come out and be like, yeah, of course we do it, you idiots. It's just how these things go.
Right.
What do you think about that, though? I mean, the state's one thing, because at least they serve and protect, right? But an independent company like Facebook selling and trading your data without your knowledge.
You know, it was crazy that you told me the other day. And it was about Zuckerberg. And what did you say?
Please reiterate. I've said many things about
the last thing you said about Mark Zuckerberg was
the emperor of Facebook.
The emperor of Facebook, but what is that entitled?
Right. So the Pirate Bay founder came out in a news article and said, he was being interviewed, and he said, nobody's addressing this problem. but Mark Zuckerberg is the dictator of the world's largest nation without borders.
Mm.
And what he means by that is we have billions of Facebook users, and they are a part of a nation technically. And since we don't have state we have the FCC, but across the world, it operates without borders. And it's connecting people who are citizens to different states that have different laws and different backgrounds. But Mark Zuckerberg gets to tap in to all these states without any legal oversight in that realm. So he's getting data that intelligent agencies only dream of.
Okay.
And he essentially is a state. He is a country without borders, if you're following me.
Yep.
Because he can use power as the dictator to swing and influence current events around the world as if he was a power player amongst the political or geopolitical environment.
What's weird is Facebook has been doing this lately. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And Google, under the Obama administration, they continuously hold meetings because there's a scientific, we call it the military industrial complex, but really it's the military corporate edifice. We got to update that because we're a post-industrial society now. So it's a military corporate edifice. Yeah. Whenever a third party or an independent contractor wants to do something for the state, they just get a contract and they lobby. So, it's away from, we still have the manufacturers, the industrial part, like Boeing, the leftover grandfathers of the old military industrial complex.
Lockheed.
And mind you, Lockheed, Boeing, they still secure many government contracts for manufacturing. But when it comes to the Silicon Revolution, Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, they are the new faces of the military corporate edifice.
Well, they changed. This is what's crazy is a long time ago. Well, I shouldn't say a long time ago. I think I don't know, 10 years maybe a little more. What nobody realized is when all these stocks and all these companies started to gain so much money, they started to gain more money than most countries could even gain or had. They started becoming more more.
No, you're 100% right. They had more assets and more wealth
than countries.
Right.
So that's when you should have started seeing the fact that companies and people backed by certain people had the money to do what they wanted to do.
Well, and they're international entities, right? And since they're transnational, they just jump around and play like a board game, all the different countries to make profits.
It's crazy as you see the movies and you just don't see the real life part of it.
And when they get so powerful and they do have more assets and more money than smaller countries, don't you think that they have the power now to lobby for or against the larger countries?
Could you imagine
and infiltrate
a Walmart war? The Walmart war.
The Walmart war, I could imagine it, except for I don't think it would be very active. You would see a lot of docile zombies, overweight people running through aisles. And it would be over really fast because...
No, this is the crazy part, is with their money, they could pay for all the fit, healthy people in tanks and all the shit that they ever want to take over whatever they want. And this is really stupid.
So you're talking about the Walton regime.
Wouldn't that be cool, dude? Like you see these people with I went to Wall Drug and all these bumper stickers, man. Bumper stickers of Wall Drug. Wall Drug was awesome.
You know what I saw once? The fringe conspiracy circles, because they love to obsess over names and possible symbols connected to the Illuminati.
Oh no, this is going to be fucking talk. Here we go.
Actually, it's very, mundane and unoriginal, but somebody pointed out that because back when Jade Helm was going on, and if people don't know about Jade Helm, just forget about it. It's gone. It's over. And your short-term memory is, you're deteriorating. But Jade Helm, like, went through the southern belt of America, and some, like, Walmart shut down, and people in the conspiracy circles were like, they're going to be using those for FEMA camp centers, man. They're going to be rounding up all the dissidents and all the possible terrorists, and they're going to be putting them there. And what do you think all the coffins are for? And then finally I read enough where I was like, oh, okay, it gets better. They're like, think about it. Walmart. If you take Wall and Mart, Wall backwards is law, and Mart is short for Marshall. And I was like,
martial law.
So, yeah, and so the next post, they were like, oh, so they're martial law centers? And everybody's like, yeah, they're martial law centers. So, yeah, I mean, the Waltons, they're already a regime in America, ready to round up all the, the double plus ungood fellas.
Jesus.
And
Arkansas, man.
The thought criminals. They will be in a Walmart one day.
They have to be part of the Clinton regime, too.
And getting shipped off in the underground dumbs, the deep underground military bases for extermination in the air-sealed, airtight gas chambers.
Here's a question for you, Mr. Hawkins.
Shoot, playa.
If Bill Clinton never got his dick sucked, would we pay attention to all the bullshit that's going on in the media still, or would it be this big right now?
That's a good question, but this goes back. These type of political scandals go back to the Watergate, go back to Kennedy.
No, but I feel
these are reoccurring things that happen.
I feel like this one happened at the perfect time, like right at the beginning of the internet, like when people could start to like also be promiscuous at the same time, and like
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I got to work on that one.
No, that was actually pretty good, man. But you have to realize
you're far too kind.
Okay.
But yeah, the internet.
Now do Hillary.
Oh, I actually my soothing baritone cannot reach the feminine tenor.
No, that would be a dude too. It'd be soprano or alto.
That's true.
So I would feel like
music scales with Mr. Ritter.
I feel like it's a soprano. I feel like she'd be a soprano, but I could be wrong. She could be.
Though, if I had to dub her, I would just probably put in one of like the witches from Wizard of Oz.
I would probably do like Frieza from Dragon Ball.
She'd be like, "Yes, my pretties."
Well, no, that would be the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right.
But
and she's coming out of the West.
I guess so. Maybe she is the Wicked Witch of the West, and this is all stage play, and he is the Wizard of Oz. Putting on this big show, and then you get behind the curtain, and he ain't fucking shit.
But yeah, man, like the Bill Cosby, all the Bills of the world, they are sexual deviants. Bill Clinton, that whole fiasco. I was too young to really see the back and forth in the media. I can only have the catalog of internet videos to take reference points from. But it seemed like the Newt, because from what I understand of the situation, Newt Gingrich led like a right-wing crusade to expose Bill Clinton during the 90s, and this alleged, well, no, it's not alleged, it happened, this affair, sexual encounter in the White House. And later on, we find out that Newt Gingrich was cheating on, I think, his spouse, who was like dying of cancer. So you got these two dirtballs trying to just do smear jobs on each other. That's kind of how like most of the political campaigns operate, just two dirtballs slinging mud.
It's always been like that, but I feel like him getting his dick sucked in the Oval Office was the beginning of like the new age.
The breakdown of American morality.
Well, I feel like that's the first time that everybody could get involved because they could really take a side because it was not man versus woman, but
Right, the side of
right, wrong, or like they really wanted to impeach him. Everybody was. I don't know. It was such a media debacle that it started media hype, I feel.
And I'm sure a few folks were like, why stop there? He should have went all the way.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Do you know that the Clintons basically pimped out the White House for like a bed and breakfast thing?
Well, I feel like that's kind of like the thing you do with.
No, they were the first.
Really?
Yeah, they rented a room to like the highest bidder or something.
Hmm.
It wasn't a cordial state invitation. It was like, who has the money? And and a lot of buyers were like, I have the money. I would love to go to the White House. And we discussed this in a different podcast, but everybody dreams to get to Elysium. And one day we're going to be confronted by the Masonic overlord, George Washington, and he's going to infiltrate our minds with that third eye of piercing knowledge.
I'm glad I have the same birthday as him.
Exactly. And that could be disputed. But when you get into the White House, it's a little taste of that afterlife, you know what I mean? And maybe that's why the Clintons wanted, maybe they were just doing some charity work for the community. They were like,
what do you think
here's a little taste of heaven.
What do you think W said when they handed him that book that nobody's supposed to read except for the president, supposedly?
The I Pet Goat book when the planes were hitting. So he was like, I don't understand this. Something about planes hitting buildings. I'm in a classroom full of little people.
What happened with those little people?
You know what's really strange about that situation? Did you ever watch the video? It was like
oh yeah, absolutely.
How the kids were chanting plane, hit, kite, steal.
What?
Like, yeah, like people, this is like Building 7 is overlooked. This is another little overlooked factoid. And for people who want to get into this, just type in like plane, hit, steal, kite. The teacher, George W. was sitting in the classroom and the planes were hitting the Twin Towers in some type of weird cosmic giggle. A cosmic coincidence. The teacher was reciting to the children to go over some new words. So the kids were saying in a repetitive trance-like state, plane must hit, kite, steal. Plane must hit, kite, steal. And maybe I added a word or I forgot a word, but that's the paraphrase.
I thought he was reading a book to them, but
then he read a book to him. Go watch the whole video. So that happened. That's an overlooked little factoid.
Then I also heard that there was some script that you could write in on Microsoft Word that you type in like 9/11 2000, was it 2001? And
well, hang on for a second. I got to capitalize here. He was reading I Pet Goat, and if you do a Google search, a guy made a really cryptic occult video called like I Pet Goat 2 or I Pet Goat. So go check that out. But what were you saying?
Well, what I was saying is he was reading a book to them while it happened, and then his Secret Service came up behind him
And whispered.
Yeah.
They were like, Mr. President, we got to get you into a bunker. But since this is all staged, you can just continue reading the book.
Like, I don't really understand what's going on right now. What are you talking about?
So you're telling me the operation was a success? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
No, keep reading. I'll talk. You guys read. I mean, George W. Bush had to be one of the least intelligent presidents we've ever had.
I don't. Again, it's not about presidency. We all know this. We all know the president is just a patsy. But at the same time, every time there's a new president, it shows where we lie.
Right. It's a face for the shareholders and their collective.
It's so shitty, but it's
their collective dream.
It's the way that they've been collecting our information for years. Now they have Facebook. Now they have Google. Now they have all this other shit. I'm telling you, this presidency, this stuff's out. It's out the door soon. It's not going to keep happening for very long.
So you think Obama's just going to be like, screw it, third term?
Well, I mean, we all know that's illegal to the.
Well, really, what is illegal and illegal under the current administration?
Well,
I mean, he could sign an executive order and be like, not.
What has to happen?
That's legal now here.
What has to happen in order for that president to be able to stay in power or stay the president, even during a new, what do you call it? Even during a new election.
Inauguration?
No, he has to call martial law.
Right. And one of my nightmares, I'm afraid that the flood of all the immigrants that came here, if any of those people are sleeper cells and they disrupt our election process, do you think that will be enough to declare martial law? Like, let's hypothetically, and I have to throw in.
Just let me stop real quick. Don't you think that using Trump as that person would be the perfect patsy?
Well, I discussed in my very first Ether Hawkins report how I believe Donald Trump is the very first agent provocateur politician.
Right.
But going beyond that, you can't put your eggs in one basket. Even if you want to have the real problem, reaction, solution effect.
You're trying to count chickens before they hatch.
But the point is, immigrants coming over with allegiance to an organization that is against America, if they disrupt with violence or horrific act, like we saw at the Boston Marathon, and they do this to the convention, or they do this to a protest, or they do this just to a friendly election center, and they strike at multiple areas. And I wanted to put in many qualifiers and hypotheticals here because I don't want to be caught and this edited as if I was trying to say that I want to see this. All I'm saying is, if this happened, and God forbid, I think we would see martial law for the first time federally acted upon and activated.
We were close to it not too long ago, but I think now, I mean, if we were going to see a super regime take over this, well, not just the United States, I don't want to say the planet yet, but I guess that would fucking happen.
It's the NATO coalition, the super regime.
It would be soon.
And for all we know, there's a deeper political state that actually operates with the whole world. Like, Vladimir Putin is a henchman of someone who's higher up, for instance.
Do you know how many golden toilets Vladimir Putin has?
Yeah, he's a mafia, well-connected Russian mobster with KGB back tactics and training.
Dude, that motherfucker has, I don't know. I guarantee you wouldn't want to fight him.
No.
I guarantee his judo's off the chain. Krav Maga, probably. He's probably chained Krav Maga. He probably, dude.
I love his state-crafted propaganda when he takes off his shirt and rides white horses.
Absolutely.
That's something I would do for the radio show, but he does for Russia.
And then he takes people out, and it's just not spoken of.
It's very disturbing.
Oh, he took somebody out. Guess what? A new meteor had hit the ground in in I don't know, name a fucking part of Russia.
And it happened to take out a political opponent of Vladimir Putin.
Right?
Now the weather will be sunny. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Who was that guy, a vocal activist who was just killed dead on like right in Moscow, just gunned down?
Right in the supposedly
At least it was during night. He's
yeah.
not that brisk.
That's brisk, baby.
Man, that's brisk.
I don't
Tastes
even
real good.
I don't even remember its name. Man.
But yeah, like a super state where Vladimir Putin and like the whole East-West thing is just kind of like the Cold War was just to militarize everyone and put us into a state of constant competition.
That was the beginning. Well, not
And then they moved on to infidels and people fighting for their like
Dude, World War
ethnic proxy wars.
World War II was the beginning of like the fight for supremacy.
War racketeering, basically.
Well, like getting the people behind you no matter where the people came from. And
yeah, but nationalism is dead, right? Because they're gonna build an international cabal, right? So now they have to have a externalized threat that doesn't pledge allegiance necessarily to a state, but it's an ethnic collision, and it's a racial, and it's a religious collision.
Well, they have to put a religion behind it, because the fact that in America people know religion is huge. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'm just talking about propping up a military economy,
well,
and once you move past the whole,
how do you think we do it?
well, I could get into that, but one second. Once we move past the errorists, and that's the problem, and the solution is international government. We're going to move into the species war, where we face the hybrid aliens that come down but really come out from like Area 51 and shit, and they're going to be the new externalized threat. And we've talked about this in episode 1.
Again, but we're going to get into the fringe zone a little bit.
Well, how do you prop up and operate a military economy? Is that what you asked? A military economy, how it like functions?
No, I don't remember exactly what I asked, but
I want you to read, and this, I'm talking to the listeners, and maybe you too, Nick Ritter. Read Smedley Butler's account, and he was I think a brigadier general, or maybe just a brigadier. You have to go check and read, and I have the book in my library, but I'm just going to go off the top of my dome. He called war a racket, so it's a racketeering operation. And he also went to the Senate and Congress during, I believe, the 20s, post like World War I, and told people that fascist CEOs in corporate America offered him money to establish a opposition, basically a coup. They wanted to have a coup of the American government so they could take over. And Smedley Butler refused. They wanted to contract him to overthrow the White House bureaucracy and replace it with a corporate bureaucracy. And he went public with this and wrote a book called War is a Racket. And that was the first glimpse into the machinery of a military economy. And, this is before TV, and we only had like radio. So that went under the radar for years. But we fast forward, and the things he was talking about, how the people who got contracted to build the tanks, the people who were contracted to build the boots, the oil companies, Standard Oil, they made record number profits off of World War I. And these internationalists found out that if they motivated and funded sides to fight each other, and they got the contracts to build the weapons, they could have perpetual profits. And then they found out.
Hang on. Do you know what the biggest profit from World War I was?
No.
The rubber tree.
The rubber. I was going to say rubber, but then I thought, was that early World War II?
Nope, that was World War I. And then World War II was really fast after it. Nobody really sees that, but it was.
And Yeah, there was a lot of creepy things in World War II, like how the Nazi regime was all the higher ups that controlled and influenced Hitler were deep into like the Thule Society and the occult
Well,
cliques.
he had to try to find something when he was young, and he found something pretty quickly, right?
Right, a failed artist who was on a mission from whatever the god he thought he was
Whatever deity he prayed to, we'll say.
fueled from amphetamines and whatnot. That
Well,
man was a raging.
apparently, he didn't do it till he started becoming, into the occult shit. But
Dothfira.
yeah,
That's when he started doing it.
Dothfir reminds me of a place in my old apartment, or a time in my old apartment.
Yes, that's just it. Military economies, they figured out the basic structure. Now, think about that, right? Now, what if you start printing money and you have a centralized bank in all these countries that you're getting your contracts from? What that means is you can double your profits, because if you're printing the money to the governments that use the money that go into contracts for the wars that they are fighting, it's a full circle profiteering racket. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So like all these centralized banks started popping up everywhere post World War II. And the military economies were making so much money off of proxy wars and this unlimited, the Red Scare, the fear of a threat from out of nowhere. The bomb was supposed to end war, but then it became a bargaining tool and a threat, right? So the bomb became propaganda for the masses.
Yeah.
If you don't go to work and if you're not a working cog in the machinery of the military corporate edifice, you may be exterminated by a nuclear bomb. That's literally what they held over our heads, and literally over our heads. And once the wall fell, the military economy...
Mr. Gorbachev, please take down that wall.
Right. And you could get into how when the Soviet Union collapsed, it was like a weird internal coup going on, and you would have to get into the history of that. That was... and underneath it all, we had intelligence agencies warring, and
KGB,
the internet was emerging.
KGB against who?
CIA, the British MI6. You have all these different. You have the who are the Jerusalem people. I can't believe it. They're special forces. They're intense. But going on, like you had the credit markets coming up in the 70s and 80s. You had the computer revolution, so you could speed up the war economy and you could give people credit to bolster economies locally, so people were never disenfranchised or dissatisfied with their local economy, because you could give them credit extensions and they could elevate their lifestyles, right? It was the whole trickle down with Reagan economics. Corporate America loves to let the crumbs hit the floor because they don't want the floor to start crumbling underneath them, right? Mm-hmm. So we gobble up our credit, and then they thought, well, the wall's gone. We have all these credit bubbles, and we want to form a real international coalition. And we still want to have the military spending, the defense spending, and the innovation that we had going on under the Cold War dichotomy, the paradoxal, the paradigm, the two entities that propped each other up. So they had to have an international threat that didn't have borders, because remember, they wanted to. Now they want to unite all the borders. They want to just dissolve borders. So you can't have a state. You can't have a state you're at war with. You have to have something that can be a threat to everyone, cross border. So they had to come up with like the war on drugs for a reason, to go into other countries and have a black market going on, and a shadow war, shadow proxy wars, and shadow markets
since the CIA started.
And then they finally pushed the button that they were hoping for. They built the I like to just say errorist because I know like you say the word and it like triggers scan systems at different agencies. But yeah, errorist. So they gave you or they gave us an externalized threat that didn't operate. It was outside of borders, and proxy wars could occur anywhere, and our defense spending could be for anything.
Right.
And the new threat wasn't nuclear. It wasn't a nuclear threat.
Mm-mm.
It was a real human threat, right? That could come from anywhere again. Because remember, it always has to come from anywhere. But
Because-
this time it didn't wear a uniform. Like,
Right. It
it wasn't Russia. It wasn't China. It's just this now.
It's-
Anybody who is against what
Just-
we want.
exactly.
And I think the next step in the military economy is once they assimilate and they create an international order, we're going to have to start going out into space. And what better excuse to start making humans look to the stars and want to build away from even the international order? Well, you give them an externalized threat that resides in space.
Absolutely. That's a lot. That's a lot of information for a lot of people.
And that's how I think the military, the war economy works. I think it creates profits based off of perpetual war, and you have to create the problems and provide the solutions. So a Hegelian dialectic format.
So, I think
You're constantly destroying and creating order out of chaos.
right. Well, you have to, but you have to make people.
My mind is breaching.
You have to make them against something all the time. There has to be two sides, just like
Right.
everything we see, yin and yang. We'll just say.
And I'm going to cool it down on the big picture stuff because a lot of people, they're either going to be like, yeah, I already know that, Mr. Ether Hawkins. Okay, why are you telling me something I already know? I'm an intelligent person. And then the other group, they're like, man, this guy is so delusional.
You're so fucked up right now. I don't even.
I don't even know if I can continue to listen to Auditory Osmosis because this Ether Hawkins guy he's breaching into forbidden areas and my mind shuts down. No, I just want to touch on how North Korea, this is just going off.
You're not trying to
into
be
a tangent.
right now again.
No, this is just going off into a tangent. But I want to address North Korea because this is something I think about a lot.
Go on.
What's going on in North Korea with Ether Hawkins? No. Have you ever thought about how these backward ass countries, despite their nationalistic tendencies and their own nation building, like they're stuck in like Stalinist Russia
No it's
methodology?
Yes, I have. And
Well, the Kim Jong Il, Kim Il Sung, and Kim Jong Un, they're stuck in like the Soviet era propaganda methodology.
well, they're not, but they want to keep everybody in that.
Yeah, maybe they're not the inner party, so to speak.
They've all went to school in where?
Western countries.
And where did Kim Jong Un go to school?
Was it Switzerland?
Yeah.
See, it makes sense. Switzerland, the elitist capital of the world. No.
Shut up.
Have you ever thought about how North Korea could be a social experiment, like a tiny little control experiment? Like the inner party of North Korea is actually a big behavioral social experiment where they're pushing humans to their breaking points, like similar to how the Nazis were doing social and scientific experiments on the Jews. Is North Korea a controlled experiment where whoever is at the top of that control system reports to somebody out in the West, and it's just a scientific outlet for research?
You're telling me that you just went from something kind of deep to not so deep, or something really deep to like the deep end?
Well, it could be the deep end, but I'm just saying, how do their people, I mean, I guess propaganda is that potent, but man, how do their leaders sleep at night?
They don't.
knowing how ass backwards, like their propaganda is not even cunning. It's just brutish, backwards
You don't.
propaganda mixed with harsh military tactics. And in their hardware, they're just now discovering how to like fly rockets and nuclear rocketry. They're mastering that finally. That's how ass backwards these people are. So all I'm saying is it's just a little like outpost, like
All
a
right.
Galapagos island for research.
Think about this. If somebody really does run a whole fucking country, the whole country is only going to be as smart as that person, right? And we all know.
Yeah, but are they backed by China? Is it a research outlet for China, for Russia?
I don't think so.
Who's allowing them to be this ass backwards? You think the leader would look at the world and be like, I am doing a terrible, terrible job at being a cunning dictator?
Why don't you think about it as the whole world actually gets to laugh at somebody because he thinks he can be a leader? Or do you think the guys from South Park?
It's so much better to laugh with them, though, instead of at them.
No, I want to laugh at them. I want to laugh at North Korea. Because
but the real, like, here's the thing.
I was doing rockets at like age 11, just so you know.
Little CO2 rockets in shop class.
No, not even CO2, bro.
You were doing real rockets.
I was buying the I can't remember the grades. I think it was D. The rocket boosters, the ones you shoot off. You know, the countdown in your fucking backyard and put the parachute inside the top. You have to pack it correctly so it pops out right when it comes down. You know, that's fucking awesome.
Right. Well, the one thing I don't like about people always saying, like, why don't we just nuke all those SAM people out in the Middle East? Or, I don't get what's going on in North Korea. Why do we still have troops at the parallel? Why don't we just take them out? Here's the thing. These people, and remind you, North Korea has one of the largest standing militaries in the world. These people are everyday people that run the economy of their country, just like the masses do for the West.
Yeah.
And we dehumanize them and think that they actually are into that. Like, I'm sure there's factions of those motherfuckers who just want to leave that country and they realize how bullshit it is. Same within the Middle East. And I can't stand uncultured and backwards thinking people thinking that the solution is to laugh at them or bomb them, because these are real people being controlled by bad people.
They also think that religion is all built on hate and built on, killing and blowing people up. Well, that's all the brainwash side of what's going on. It's not really. It's based on love. It's based on caring about the person next to you. But if, just like anything, if you get somebody dumb enough and young enough to work for you, you can pretty much mold them how you want to.
Right. And it should be people's jobs to infiltrate. Like, why can't we have an Operation Valkyrie in North Korea? Where are the North? And I'm sure we have North Korean soldiers that think about this type of stuff, but it's taboo or super secretive. Right. But when are they going to just take out Kim Jong-un and take out their oppressor? And of course, you could get into a niche dialogue and say that you destroy the monster, you become the monster. It's the Hydra, constantly replacing its own head as it chops off its own head.
Right.
One dictator is replaced by a new dictator of some other form. But still, anything must be better than a ass backwards, family ran gulag shop.
You mean like the sub shop that I went to down the street that was run by one single family?
Really? Tell me more about this. Just so we can wean off of these heavy political / fringe topics.
Well, I was actually relating this to a younger time in life, and it was a little sub shop ran by a family, And just like many family-run restaurants, it was pretty fucked. But they had to find those people that want to work for them, or
Wait, so you worked at this place or you had food
I
at
did.
this place?
I did work there, but they were family-run place, and if you didn't like the family, you got fired, right?
Right.
It's gonna go right back to North Korea. But let's be done. Let's be done. So anyway, on your day off today, which I know you had a day off because you weren't at work and I'm at work.
Well, you don't know that. Until I get the GPS data to you, you don't know where the hell I'm at.
I know you weren't at work, and I'm looking right in your fucking eyes right now, and I can tell you weren't at work today.
We are in studio.
Correct. So,
What did I do?
did you lay in your hammock at least once?
You know, I do that for the world. I relax for the people who can't relax. I'm the dude. No. I took my hammock out. Yeah, I played some croquet earlier in the day.
Hey,
Some reading. I went to Maplewood, and I was looking for a pop filter because, as you can tell, I pop a lot on the microphone, so I wanted to filter that out. Sound panels. I'm looking to invest in sound panels to absorb the waves that come from my mouth, and the auditory osmosis needs to be a little bit more crisp and a little bit more clear. So that's what I accomplished
Maybe we
today.
should go right back to National Public Radio talk. What do you think about that, Mr. Hawkins?
What do I think about NPR voice? I think it's very comforting, and maybe we can rock the listener to sleep, and
Wow.
maybe they can have a rec room where they can play sound waves.
Well, Mr. Hawkins,
In
I don't
their
think we should be rocking them to sleep this evening. I think what we should really be doing is
Caressing them to sleep. No.
no, not asleep again. Can't go back to sleep. We're
What
awake.
did you do today? Because I'm constantly, I'm never asleep. I'm always wide awake. I'm an insomniac with a craving for knowledge.
That's the worst thing about sleep is you can't learn anything. But actually, we both know that you actually do learn in your sleep if you get enough sleep.
Yeah, I always get enough sleep. And I was lying about the insomniac part. I do have a thirst for knowledge.
You know, I do like sleep when I can get it. But
And I don't like getting too much because you know that strange effect where you get too much and you wake up and you're just grouchy. You're like, God damn it. I can't believe I'm up. I just slept for 10 hours.
yeah,
And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, Jesus, you're a bum.
you're a bum rock. You're a bum.
Exactly. And that's just the coach on you. I see some people have angels and demons. Nick Ritter just has two coaches on both his shoulders, and they're just telling him to be stronger, better, and faster.
Oh God. One of my coaches used to say, "Are you a whiner or a shiner?" I'm like, oh God. All right, coach. You know what's funny is like even back in the day, like I didn't understand. I started in wrestling. That was my first like combatant sport. And it was in I don't know, second or third grade.
Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah, it would be I guess the basic regular Greco-Roman wrestling, you know. I started in Minnesota, and then I moved to Texas, and then kept going in wrestling after like I don't know, a year of football, and then went back to wrestling and football at the same time. Played football my whole life basically until in the high school, and I started playing golf. But
You ever get any cauliflower? I've seen you. I see you right now, and you don't have cauliflower ears.
no, but I didn't do any. I didn't do wrestling like
You were the towel boy.
I wasn't very. I don't know. I was tall and lanky, so I wasn't.
No. I mean, towel boy.
No,
You
I
were
know.
just the guy. Okay.
No, I wasn't. I was pretty good for when we had wrestling at our school, but then it also got kicked out by football because football needed to be bigger. And then I mean I'm pretty sure in our high school wrestling was big, but then I had sustained an injury to my hand and I couldn't do much of anything the first year of high school. So, or I'm sorry, it was the second year of high school, but I was golf
What
in that time.
what position did you play in football, and what position did you want to play? Because
Well,
there's always the difference. Like people
well,
get
I
into
actually
sports.
I got to play the perfect positions that I wanted to play, but again, I grew up in Texas, and there was people that were always bigger and better than me. So I was always B team, or I guess you would say JV or junior varsity. And then in high school, I couldn't compete. So I
Well, what
played
did you expect? Everything's bigger in Texas. You should have stayed in Minnesota, and you could have
right.
been the MVP
No, most
of your high school football team.
yes. I mean, whatever. But so um, the the fact is, I wanted to be a running back. I wanted to put the ball in the end zone. I wanted to score touchdowns, and I wanted to tackle the quarterback, basically. So I was a fullback and a linebacker.
Nice.
I was not good at being a fullback. I couldn't. I don't know. I like to run through people and just give a big hit and then fall to the ground. That was a tackle
See, I always wanted to be the hunchback.
of Notre Dame.
Yes. No, but that's cool. So you got to play the positions you wanted to play. See,
Yeah.
in my experience when I did football, I found out that usually the community coaches are fathers of somebody on the team, right?
Right.
And they like to hand out the most valuable positions to their kids, right?
Well, it was like that in high school. Yeah, definitely.
And unless you were exceptionally talented, you were not going to play the position you wanted to play.
Well, again, I wasn't the greatest at my position, but everything that I tried for, I got it. Like I wanted it, so I got it. You know what I mean? Like it's a it's a it's wanting to do it. It's putting your
No,
mind.
I get it. Everything you touch turns to gold.
Well, I'd like it to be gold. Sometimes it was silver, bronze, whatever. But at the same time, I made the best of what I could. So, and it's all of what you want to get out of it. It's not about, all the bullshit. So,
No, that's cool. That's cool. See, I personally I never got a chance, but I wanted to play rugby.
it's a cool sport.
I think it's a pretty neat sport. I settled for baseball. And
Go on.
and then that sport came around in my like later years in high school. What is it called with the nets? It's like yes, I was gonna say it's field soccer, but in the air with hand nets.
And hockey, kind of.
Yeah, and lacrosse is damn interesting.
It's true.
I prefer to watch that over soccer, and I never understood why. In every place, everyone loves soccer or football. Sorry, and then here in America, we disdain soccer.
Do you know why? Can I give you
Please
the lowdown?
give me the low and the high.
What's the cheapest sport you can play worldwide? What's the only thing you have to buy for soccer?
Right, that's true.
So you only have to buy a ball. What do you have to buy for football or for hockey? Or you have to be
And the safety equipment.
you have to have the correct equipment. You have to have the money to get this shit.
You need ice for hockey.
You need ice, straight up. So the reason it hasn't caught on much is because we didn't want to just use a ball. We wanted to put our ego forward and run over the dude in front of us or tackle that quarterback. You know what I mean? Just like I was saying earlier.
Right.
So-
And America's trying to export the NFL as we become more global.
Supposedly it's doing great, but I could probably beg to differ.
And if you remember, we're located here in the sunny, friendly state of Minnesota. And did the Vikings, they were like the first team to do a game in London, was it?
I don't know if they were, but
I thought it was the Minnesota Vikings. They went over and did a game in London, or some NFL team.
definitely they did a.
And I thought that was one of their first attempts.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I also heard some general managers, they love to scout too out of the European area. But I also heard one of the GMs of a certain NFL team that if they didn't get a stadium built by some year, they were going to build a stadium in Europe.
Yeah.
And the NFL encouraged it because they want to break into that market.
Oh, for sure. Do you know what's crazy? I have a story about the NFL for you. So when I was younger, when I was living, or I moved back to Texas about, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. No, maybe it was before. So we'll say it was 2004, 2005. So it was right after high school. It was between my 2 years off before I went to college. Me and my buddy, we used to, well, his dad basically used to work security for the Texas Stadium, which was the old stadium that the Cowboys used to play at. Okay?
Okay.
I'll just say we drove the motorcycles up one day, brought them up to the gate. The cops opened the gate for us. We parked the motorcycles right next to the place where all the cops were at. We walked into this little building, we'll say, on the side of the stadium, and his dad was sitting in there, told us basically where we could sit because they just kicked out these people and blah blah blah. So we got to watch the game. Anyway, after the game, we went, and his dad was walking us out, got us out the gate, whatever, because he's the I can't remember, sergeant at that point for the Irving Police Department. And he said, "You want to see something crazy?" And I looked at him like I didn't know because I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I think my buddy knew what he was talking about. Anyway, he said somebody's name. We'll just say Scott at this point. We'll just say, hey, what he said is, "Hey, Scott, give me a wave." And he told us to look up top of the stadium. Again, this was probably 10 years ago, at least. And at the top of the Texas Stadium, you see this guy wave his arm. And it was one of the snipers that have been posted up all night during the game.
Oh, wow.
How much money is on that field at one point of any time during the game? Whether it's Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Deion Sanders at that point, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin. How much money are they worth compared to the team that they're facing? You know what I mean? Like Troy Aikman, crazy money. What does that mean? What does that money mean?
It takes a lot of money to fund a bread and circus show, but go on.
Well, I mean, just saying, it was the beginning. It was getting people into that competition.
Right, like an investment.
Well, right. So I'm just saying that's how deep our sports are in Minnesota, in the United States of America.
Well, and they're a staple around the world because
we want our football, and it's worth so much money that we don't even know.
Well, it all boils down to entertaining people. And it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
So, obviously, there's going to be a marriage of the merchandising, the players, the TV shows, all, etc.
Right. So, is that showmanship again? Is that all just...
I would say so, except for it serves a purpose. It's not like we shouldn't have it. It's just a natural tendency for humans to gravitate towards these forms of engagement because we like to entertain ourselves. And since we're intelligent, we like to pit intelligence on intelligence and an athletic expose. of talent.
Right.
And of course, that's why we have various spelling bees and chess and the board game Go and computer gaming going on Twitch and all these stream services. We just love a good human versus human show.
True.
And all that.
Well, we want the drama. We want the emotion with it, right?
Right. And usually the people on the top of it, not only do they fund it and profit off of it, but they themselves love to provide a network or channel for everybody else to, I don't want to say distract themselves with, because it sounds as if I am trying to say it's a conspiracy of people who fund it to build something to distract us. All I'm saying is it's an exploitation. Like, the amount of money that goes into a football game is absurd. Yes, it's entertaining. Yes, we like it. But on the other hand, those people who fund it are beyond the entertainment portion, and all they see is dollar signs. Cha-ching, 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 with every fan wearing a jersey. So I think at a local level, we should always teach children that the sportsmanship is more important than the showmanship.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's what I want to capitalize that little, my 2 cents there.
The double P.
The papa. Yeah, I just add that garnish. We should have.
I mean, this comes along with the participation award, right? How everybody nowadays is given a participation award because they participated.
Right.
No scores are taken in like little league sports and stuff like that. Like, no, you have to. The best. You know what the best thing about the Japanese people is they will tell you if you're dumb. They will tell you if you're smart. They will tell you if you're brave. They'll tell you if you're a pussy. Okay.
Well, we were talking about this when we were covering their discipline and agriculture for the finest cuisine in using their ingredients like fish and stuff.
Correct. Well, basically, is what I'm saying is they categorize, but they let you understand that's your place.
It's normalized there, where we're trying to nullify sportsmanship here because everybody's a winner.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand, like, how you can parents think. I don't even want to get into this.
Well, no, we should get into this.
No.
My biggest problem with it is 2 things come out of it. It nullifies sportsmanship, and so kids look for other ways to get a one up. If they can't, if everybody's a winner, they got to find a way to be a winner above the winners. So then showmanship awards them. So they get into showmanship, and the sportsmanship is not enough. And then on the other side of it, the kids who go, well, if everybody's a winner, why even try? So then it makes some kids drop out of the whole natural act of being competitive with your fellow humans. So it does 2 things that I disagree with. When everybody's a winner, you create the person who relies on showmanship instead of sportsmanship. And you also create, on the other hand, someone who drops out of sportsmanship completely and doesn't even want to participate, because why try? Because everyone's a winner and none of that matters.
Right. I don't know, honestly.
Did I encapsulate that? Like, we can leave this topic if you don't want to.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't know if I would have responded correctly if my parents would have told me I'm not good at this or I'm better at this, but I feel like that's something that you can build off of rather than just being told you're great at everything and getting this boost of ego, which is not good either, but you have this false sense of security.
Well, and if you want to be the best, you got to compete with the best. But if they only put the best,
you also have to realize that you're not as you may not be as good as that next person. And I don't mean quit. I don't mean stop doing what you're doing, but I mean you have to either figure out a way to be better, or you have to figure out something else to be better at. You don't have to shove it in anybody's face that you're better at it, but you have to figure out something to do.
And going off of this, in a certain school, I read that they wanted to remove what is it called when someone graduates with the highest honors in their class?
Valedictorian.
Valedictorian. They wanted to remove that recognition because it made other kids feel bad. And see, why would you do that? Because those kids worked their asses off to become the valedictorian.
Right.
So why take that away from them?
Yeah. I don't know. Again, that goes along with the participation award at the end of high school.
It's like everybody's afraid to either they don't want to get better or they don't want to acknowledge that other people are better at something or in some form.
You have to know your
art
place.
or sport. Okay?
You have to know your place, and guess what? Taco Bell and McDonald's always needs people. But I hate to be that brash, but at the same time, I feel like nobody gives a shit about. No, I shouldn't say it like that. Nobody understands that they can be wrong. They're not
infallible.
Yeah, they think they're better than everybody else, regardless of what's going on. I know my place. I've known my place since I don't even know how long ago. I know what I do, and I've always known what I was going to do. So,
and the brilliant part about America in theory is we don't operate on a caste system. So if you find out that you are better in some area, we're in a class-based system. So you can move freely in theory, as long as the system's working properly and crony capitalism didn't nullify our, you have to know somebody. It's not who you know, it's who you blow and all that jazz. But we still have class mobility, right? So we can, if you are not just a burger flipper, you can move up in the ranks. You're not stuck into where your family had been born. That's what I'm getting at.
Right. Well, that's true. I mean, you have to, but you also have to want to capitalize on that. Again, I said this earlier, but you only get things out of things if you want to get it out of it. How can I say? If you go to college and you only do your first 2 years or something, you only get out of it what you want to get out of it. If you wanted to get those 2 years and you wanted to blaze through it and be a badass in school, then great, you probably did it. But if you wanted to slack off and be not succeed, you probably did that, and you had to go for 2 more years to get your gens,
Well, and one of my favorite hip hop artists has a line. He says, "You want to be the best? You're crazy. The best train every day of the week."
It's true.
And this is full circle because we were talking about that article about free money through the state. See, this collectivist, everybody's a winner, doesn't work.
Right. I'm not going to say I have a lot of money that I'm sitting on, but if I did, I would probably still work my ass off and still perfect my craft, because that's the only thing you can do, and it helps you do everything else in your life that you can.
And existentially, there's always that void you cannot fill with money. So why not master a craft?
Well, why do people think of money as that number one be the head all be all, or whatever the line is, or the phrase is, why is money the top? Why have we been manicured this way to think that the most money is the best person you can be?
Well, it's a wonderful medium for exchanges, but when you break down money at the root of its It's language. It's the mono eye, the money, the mono eye perception. And if you're living through that one eye, the cyclops, the cyclops and the gorgon, you're not using all your eyes and you're not seeing reality properly. But yeah, I mean, money's a great tool to arrange our societies.
Yeah,
You know,
I feel like this might be the worst part in my life is like the money issue. The fact that I don't like to treat money as if it runs me. I don't. Money is just a means to pay my bills and like keep my life cruising. You know, like.
And that's what it was built to do.
But at the same time, a lot of people, and I'm not saying that saving money is bad. Don't get me wrong, but
They make it an end game.
right, they want to have more money than everybody around them when they die.
Which is a pathological problem.
To some people, yes. To a lot of people, no. Right?
Right. And we normalize that pathological problem. We say,
But
hey,
am I wrong for not treating it that way?
no. I mean, where you sit, in my opinion, from the armchair of psychology, you are behaving appropriately because look at the way humans have evolved, right? You are not necessarily supposed to treat money as if it's your end game, and it's not designed to be.
Right.
You're supposed to treat it the way you've been treating it, as a means to get what does temporarily fill that void in your soul, the
Right.
human soul.
I feel like my end game is what I do every day for a living. And I've said this to you before, and it's being the best caveman you can be. And
Right.
It's because if not just if everything
And,
shuts
and
down.
he's talking about cooking, folks.
Yeah,
Cooking and the art of being a chef is, in Mr. Ritter's eyes, being the best caveman you can be.
I've cooked on every surface and any way you could cook food. Okay, I've tried it. I've tried to do it, and I've done it. Okay, and it's just the thing is, if you can feed, no matter what happens around you, if you can feed the people around you, you're not. I guess you're almost indispensable. If you're the only person that can, if you're the person that gives the best food or the best, if you can do that day in and day out and control people's lives with that food, that beautiful, beautiful nourishment, I feel like that's the best thing you can do for everyone.
Well, I think a better word would be impact. I wouldn't say you can control people's lives, unless you're poisoning your customers or your patrons slowly.
Let's control them with. We'll just give them ayahuasca and every little. And
I've been slowly adding arsenic.
Well, okay, so impact, yes, a better term. But what would that food do if nobody around you could eat? Or if, okay, we'll say back in the day when you were a caveman and you knew how to start a fire. But that's the thing, is that might be the reason I'm a chef, is because I get to play with fire every day and I get to control the shit out of it, and I know exactly what that fire is going to do all the time.
So you're reliving your ancestral memories that are
It's the best thing for us, man. It's
locked away in your genetics.
I feel like everybody has to have it. Everybody has to know how to cook that, as Anthony Bourdain said, if you sleep with somebody and if you have sex with somebody and they can't cook you an omelet in the morning, they're not worthy of your sex. Basically is what he said. So either way, you should get an omelet in the morning.
Well, hey, how would you like to wrap up those last 10 minutes of this wonderful episode 5 of Auditory Osmosis.
Let's wrap it up with a beautiful omelet. No, I'm just kidding.
Beautiful omelet. Can I describe something I made earlier today? I forgot about this when you asked me about how my day went.
Recipe time with Mr. Hawkins.
So I'm a big fan of eggs because
As you
they're
can
for breakfast, lunch,
Your-
and dinner.
see your picture.
Right. The chickens, the holy mother of the egg. So this is what I had, and I just want to bounce this off you. You being a chef, being exposed to the realm of fine cuisine. Just imagine some of these flavors, I guess. So I cut some russet potatoes, thin slices, added some olive oil into a frying pan. Then I had some yellow onion, trimmed it up nicely, sprinkled it on top of the slices of potato. And then I added some garlic cloves. Then I grinded a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I let that sizzle for a while till the potatoes are slightly soft. Then I add 3 eggs. I break the yolks. I turn the heat down and I let them slow cook so all the flavors mix in. I add a tiny bit of honey and then I let that cook. I flip it once. I take a handful of super greens, like your basic, spinach, kale. I take the super greens and I throw it onto the egg. I flip it back again just to get them to stick. Then mind you, I never want to burn. I always like to have that nice yellow white consistency and color, and I never want to get it too crisp. I took that off of away from the frying pan. And then I had a white corn tortilla, a soft one, about medium size. And I added a tomato basil spread on one side. And then I put butter in the exact same frying pan with some leftover residue of what I was cooking, the potatoes, the yellow onion, the garlic, the eggs. And I let that fry on top of the butter. And the side facing up with the tomato basil, I throw my egg, which is in the shape of a circle, because this is a circular frying pan here. And I throw that on top. I let it cook on top of the tortilla while the tortilla soaks up the butter and browns and gets that nice crispy, crunchy texture. I cut cherry tomatoes, put it down the middle, and then I sprinkle some mozzarella cheese. And then I fold that bad boy over, and it becomes a taco omelet.
Chocolate?
Yes. What do you think about that?
That's pretty intense for your breakfast, but or lunch or dinner.
That is my lunch.
That's a good lunch today. Sounds pretty good though.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Gave me energy. I had my proteins. I had my greens.
How many eggs did you have? 4 times?
3.
Four?
3.
2 inside, 1 on top?
No, all inside.
I thought you said. Oh, okay. So okay, I get it. It's a good nourishment to
Right.
for your lunch to then go play croquet. I presume.
Exactly.
Sounds pretty good. You know what I had for breakfast or lunch? Actually, for lunch, what did I have? Oh,
Do tell.
I had 3 different kinds of pizza. One was a
3 different kinds.
sauce. One slice of sausage and grilled fennel with a little mozzarella cheese. One was prosciutto, roasted wild mushrooms, mozzarella, and blue cheese. The third one was a sun-dried tomato pesto with fresh mozz and Parmesan cheese. Then I had a nice tossed salad with mixed greens, which was frisee, spinach, a baby type of spinach, and then some romaine with some radicchio. So it was, it was pretty hefty salad with
My oh my.
cucumber, tomato, and shredded carrots with a
English cucumber,
yes, and a balsamic.
the best.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Why can you eat the skin on the English cucumber, but other cucumbers it's really not that great?
Well, just cause I guess I don't know. I like the skin on all of them. To be honest with you.
Maybe it's just I'm a quirky dude. I have weird eating habits.
I only like some skin. All right. Is it a
Right.
comment? You being racist?
No, but I will say this. I found the new face for the next Black Lives Matter campaign. I'm going to start Black Cats Matter. And my cat, Glump, is going to be the poster boy for Black Cats Matter. Because you know what? There's a lot of stigma.
El Gato Negro. I'll start the Mexican / Spanish, maybe South American culture side of it.
And you should compose songs for the Black Cats Matter movement.
Well, yeah, I mean that was actually in Fast and Furious 1. El Gato Negro was like a meetup spot where they went. Sorry to pull.
No, that's fine. And you've heard though, like the stigma, like you cross a black cat, if you're superstitious, you're gonna have bad luck.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just a form of cross-species racism, and I'd like to get that out as a platform because let's face it, folks, for a very long time, we as humans have been discriminating against all black cats of all types.
That's true.
And I'm here to tell you that all black cats matter.
They all matter. They all have lives and they matter.
And I don't want to make this just about cats. I'm not going to shorten it to all cats matter. That would be too logical. I'm going to stick with the black cats because you know why? Only the black cats get all the hate.
Would you walk into a bar that's named the Horizontal Ladder?
No.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought with the whole Black Cats Matter thing because it's true. All black cats matter, and we don't walk under horizontal ladder.
Right.
That's true. That's absolutely 100%. So everybody, just if anybody takes anything from this episode of Auditory Osmosis, what I want you to get into your ear holes with our auditory bullets of lead and steel. Please know, black cats matter. Don't walk under horizontal ladders.
And before I melt my co-host with my Superman eyes,
ouch, it's starting to hurt already.
I just wanted to ask, Mr. Ritter, do you have any last words before we pull the kill switch?
Just want to say that...
would you pull a switch, though? It's like a ripcord.
This is one of those psychological questions, right? What kind of... Is it going to end somebody else's life, give you a little shock, or is it going to kill me? Or is it...
No,
I
can direct these bad boys anywhere I look.
Is it a multiple choice?
I pierce the soul.
Oh, so I'll say pierce somebody's soul in... maybe...
These are your last words, mind you.
No, these are not my last words.
Until next time.
Oh, well, maybe. So I'll just say pierce my own soul with your auditory osmosis. Oh, it feels terrible, but it's great at the same time.
I believe we have completed one more successful broadcast here on Auditory Osmosis. Thank you for tuning in to episode 5. And make sure to join us next time with Ether Hawkins and
Nicholas Ritter.
Signing off.
Ow.